Alright, in the previous video you learned how to write an equation given a verbal expression. Now we need to go one step further and actually solve that equation after we write from the verbal expression. So in each one of these steps, this is step 1, read the phrase and circle the keywords in the problem. Now I've been highlighting them before for you, but unfortunately on the ECA you won't be allowed to use a highlighter. You can still use your pencil to identify those keywords. So we're just going to circle them. What are the keywords in 14 less than n is 50? Well, you can circle the word less than, the words less than, and remember what than means, and the word is. Then underline the numbers and the variable, what you don't know in the problem. Sorry, I should have said the numbers. So we underline the 14, the n, and the 50. The 14 and the 50, we do know those numbers, and our variable, in this case, they tell us which letter to use as n. So now we need to write our equation. N minus 14, remember why we're doing that? Because it has the word than. You need to hold that thought and stick it after your variable. Is 50, so is equal to 50. So there's our equation. Step 2, we just wrote step 2. Step 3, we need to solve for the variable. So to solve for the variable, let's first identify each one of the terms in the equation. Put a circle around your variable terms and a square around your constants. Just put on those training wheels so that we know what to do. So you should circle the variable n. Put a square around your negative 14, don't forget that sign there, and a square around the 50. The negative 14 and the 50 are constants, so that's why we give it our squares. Now let's recall when we're solving an equation, what is our goal? To get our variable all by itself. So far we learned about 1 and 2 step equations, or 1 steps you have your choice of either combining like terms or isolating our variable. And 2 steps equations, we'd have to do both, but we always combine our like terms first, and then isolate our variable from its coefficient. So, do we need to combine like terms here? Yes, we have 2 squares we need to combine, or 2 constants we need to combine. But before we can combine them, we have to get them on the same side of the equation, away from that variable. So what are you going to do to combine them? Or what term do we need to get move? We need to move that negative 14 so that we can combine it with the 50. Well, if it's a negative 14, if we cross those lines, remember you have to change the sign. So we need to add 14 to both sides of the equation. Then we can combine like terms. So the whole purpose of adding the 14 is to create that zero pair so that we can get rid of it, and their variable then will be all by itself. N is equal to, and we combine the 50 and the 14. They both have the same sign, so you have to add the 2 numbers together. 50 plus 14 is 65. Or 64, I'm sorry. 50 plus 14 is 64. And look at our last step. It says check and ask yourself, is this a reasonable answer given to the information in the problem? Now these are just numbers, and so we can just check it by plugging it back into the original equation that we wrote. When we get more story-like problems, we'll have to do something more with it. So let's check it. We're going to replace that variable n with our 64. That's what we think the answer is. And we just recopy the whole rest of the problem. 64 minus 14 equals 50. Then you simplify the expression on the left. 64 minus 14 is 50, which equals the 50 on the right-hand side of the equation. Therefore, our answer checks. So we're good. Now I'm going to erase a little bit so that we can see the next problem. Like before, let's read the problem. The quotient of a number and 4 is equal to 20. So identify the key words. Let's put circles around them. You should circle the word quotient and is equal to, or is equal. So which operation is quotient? You say division. If you did, you're good. And equals, of course, is the equal sign. Let's identify the numbers and the variable in the problem. You should underline 4 and 24. What's our variable? It's that number that we don't know. So what letter of the alphabet should we use, probably in this case, to represent the number? I would probably use the letter N. So let's write our equation. N divided by 4, because that's quotient, means divide, is equal to 24. Alright, we wrote our equation, now we need to solve it. So just like before, let's put our training wheels on. Circle your variable terms and put a square around your constants. So there's my variable term. I'm going to put a circle around the whole thing. And the 24 doesn't have a variable with it. That makes it a constant, so I'm going to put a square around it. Oops. Pause that for a second. So I have this n divided by 4 equals 24. Ignore that other 4 up there for just a second. If I were to get that n all by itself, notice I don't have any terms to combine now, but I need to get rid of the 4 that's being divided right now. So what do I have to do? If it's under a variable, you have to move it up and multiply. So that's what that little 4 was up there at the top. So you have to multiply each side of the equation by 4. Under, up, and multiply, remember? The whole point of that is to cancel out the 4's. Therefore, we get our variable all by itself. N is equal to whatever 24 times 4 is. So I'm going to do 24 times 4 down here. Speed that up a little bit. And I get 96 as an answer. Again, to check it, I need to plug that 96 back into the original problem, so I'm going to take 96 and divide it by 4 to see if it equals 24. And it does, and it checks. So this is the last question before I turn you loose on the guided practice, and it's a toughie, and it really gets the idea of how we use algebra in the real world. So the question says, an online DVD rental company offers gift certificates that you can use to purchase rental plans. You have a gift certificate for $30. The plan you select costs $5 a month. How many months can you purchase with the gift certificate? So we know how many months can we use this gift certificate. So you can see here they've made a model of the problem, of the story here, and that's what an equation is. It's a model representing a story. So it says relate. The cost per month times the number of months is equal to the amount of the gift certificate. So we're going to define our variable. Let m equal, well, what do you think m is going to stand for here? It's the value that we don't know. We don't know how many months we can purchase with this gift certificate. So m is our variable, and it stands for the number of months. So let's write that on the line. So m is our variable, but we do know how much it costs per month. There's that key word that we've had before, per. Per means to multiply. We know how much we have to multiply by. It tells us right here, the 5. So 5 times m is equal to our total of the $30. For us to find out, another way to write this, by the way, is 5m is equal to 30. So we can figure out how many months our gift certificate is for. We need to solve this equation. 5m is our variable term. 30 is a constant. So we don't have any constants that we need to combine. but we do have a coefficient in front of our variable. That coefficient of 5 is beside our variable. What did we say? If it's beside it, you have to divide it. So we divide both sides by 5. The 5's cancel out. So m is equal to, well, 30 divided by 5 is 6. We're not done. This is a story problem. So your final answer is 6 what? 6 months. Whenever you have a story problem, you should always label your final answer. Don't just say m is equal to 6 or 6. You need to tell us what it is. 6 months. All right, good luck on your guided practice. None of your guided practice problems, by the way, are in depth as focus question number 3. We just want to introduce it to you a little bit ahead of time until we get to the actual story problems. We're going to do this more often. So good luck on your guided practice. I know you do well.